Dear colleagues, I am so delighted that you have decided to join me, Patricia Quigley, immediate past president of the Association of Rehabilitation Nurses, to listen to this very short video, short as in maybe around 30 minutes. This video to help you as an ARN presenter on some tips and tricks to help you with your presentation. And as I start this session with you to talk with you about tips and tricks for presenting, it is because I love to present. I can present whether it's one person or 3,000 people in an audience or more, but I love to present because I love teaching. And I know that many of you who are listening to this session, for you, colleague, who is listening to this, you may love to present, but not everyone is as comfortable in presenting. You know, talking in public and speaking in front of large audiences or just speaking in public is one of the greatest fears that people have. And we want you to be comfortable. You know, when you get selected to present for the Association of Rehabilitation Nurses, it is because you have submitted an abstract that's been selected for presentation, and that is peer reviewed. So that's a very special accolade of your success for what you want to share. So you are an expert in the topic that you're presenting. So we just want to talk with you, I as well as Sarah Hines, and I'd like to credit Sarah Hines, who is our online learning and education manager for the Association of Rehabilitation Nurses. She prepared this presentation. I did not, but she asked me to present. And I actually suggested that she might present, but asked me to present. I'm delighted to do this. But the two of us are really committed to helping you to do the best that you can and feel comfortable and present. And even as I prepared this session with Sarah, there were tips that I learned. So I'm just delighted to be able to share this with you. So colleagues, let's go ahead and get started. And again, our commitment is to help you be able to present your information, whatever the format is that you're presenting, whatever you've been selected for, whether it's an in-person session that you're presenting at a conference or wherever you might present, or whether it's a virtual session like I'm preparing now and I'm presenting now. And many of us who are watching this, you may be completing both of these types of presentations. A virtual one, which I did last year, the last 2 years when we went virtual for our conference, we recorded our presentations and we had them available if we would be in person as well. And then there's also the exclusively on-demand one that is only virtual, for example, for our learning management system. So most of the presenters who will be presenting at our conference coming up September 19th through the 23rd in San Diego, and I'm so excited to be there with you because I will be there in person, will be required to record their session as well as to have it available for presenting in person if that's what you're doing. But there will be a variety of tips and tricks that I want to be able to share with you as we go forward, and want to specify these tips and tricks that apply to the different types of presentations as we go forward. So I'm really excited to be able to share this session with you and helping you to know that your presentation really matters and how you present absolutely matters. So the way you present yourself has everything to do with what attendees will take away from your presentation. And they are there to learn from you. Everyone who's listening to your session is there to learn from you. So we want, and you want them to be as informed as possible about your content, but for you to be able to help ensure that they are listening to you, that they're really, and convince them to really listen and attend to you. And how you present should highlight and complement the content that you will be sharing and the way that you actually present your content to the audience. So, when I think about this and how you present, I know that sometimes, I really use different techniques to really make sure people are attending to me. Some of you who may have been in my audience, you will recall that I actually ask people to turn off their phones and maybe put their phones even down unless they're waiting on an emergent call, so that they really attend to me, so that I can make sure, because everyone's got their phone in front of them and they're busy doing other kinds of things. So think about equipment. The equipment that you'll need to have to be able to present. Whether it's hardwired or Wi-Fi, the connection is preferred. But if you are doing the virtual presentation, certainly, and I do this in my home, is I will connect to a landline, because with that landline that is hardwired, I know that I will have less chances of losing my internet connection. Oftentimes with my laptop computer, I will get a message that says I have unstable, connection to the internet. And then I know that there might be some problems. So, when you're worrying about that, if you do have a landline, go ahead and connect to that. Take the worry out of your presentation. But test your connection before you get started. If you're presenting in your workplace or public location where you don't have firewall restrictions, that might disable or block some of your access to information. So again, be sure that you test your connection. If you're unsure of whether or not there will be a firewall in your place and you're recording, contact ARN. Staff, contact Sarah Haynes, because she can check that with you and help you with the different software platforms that are available. And you will be able to use that help to maybe find a different platform that won't be blocked. But make sure your camera too, that you're facing your camera, is maybe stacked on some books so that you can be sure that you're actually present in the middle of the screen. But do make sure you have that strong internet connection. Be aware of the firewalls. Don't forget your camera placement. And actually, I even have my computer now, because I am on my laptop, but I also have my internet connection going as well, my landline. But I have my laptop elevated. I actually have a friend who puts her computer up on her ironing board to raise the height of it. But the height should be dead center. Bring it up so that you're in front of it, and you sit up and you sit forward as you listen, as you present into the what you're recording. But the lens should be directly level to your face and slightly above, but pointing a little bit, never pointing upward, but just pointing maybe a little bit down. That's what you want to have in terms of your camera placement. Another thing that's really important to check is to look at your audio. For a live presentation, you always ensure that, you check the clarity and the volume of the microphone. That's done with all faculty that are getting ready to present, and staff oversee that. They oversee your microphone placement. But for your recorded presentations, try recording like 30 seconds of your presentation and then listening back to what has been said, because then you can hear how that audio is. And then sometimes moving away from or towards your microphone when you're testing your audio can help you to appreciate how well are you coming close to, how well are you being heard. So testing your audio is really important, and then testing your screen sharing and advancing your slides is another opportunity to make sure that you're comfortable with how to proceed within your presentation. But do ensure that you know how to advance your slides and during your presentation. And with all the preparation and the advice that we receive from the Association of Rehabilitation Nurses from Sarah, she will send out detailed instructions for you, detailed information to help you know how to be able to present your presentation. So that helps you with equipment. And then, of course, location is important. Be sure you have a quiet space that's isolated from noises, and that's for both types of presentations, virtual, recorded, and live. Be sure that the space that you're in is not going to be interrupted by pets. I have even now started using a headset on some of my presentations just to eliminate all of that external noise, because I do have basset hounds that stay with me in the room when I'm presenting at my home. So do everything you can to eliminate those ambient noises. Turn off any kinds of alarms. I do that on my computer. My, the alerts that come up when we get an email, for example. So do all that you can to eliminate any visual distractors, because that takes away from you. It takes away from your message. You want to make sure that you're not also doing lots of movements. I mean, it's one thing to have some hand movements. I do some of that. But to not overly do that, because again, you want people to truly be listening to you. And then try your background too, make it minimalistic. So you don't have too much that people are looking at in your background. In my kitchen, I have lots of beautiful decorated plates that people will always comment on. Right now, I have the ARN's virtual background that they will send out to all of us who are presenting to load onto our Zoom platforms so that we have that behind us. And that eliminates some of those distractions. Also, colleagues, consider the lighting of your space that you're in. Do not put on any lights or windows behind you or stand in front of room spotlights because it creates an odd shadowing on you. So, go for bright, soft lighting that's coming from behind the camera or in front of you. So all of that truly makes a difference for what you're trying for people being able to attend to you, but not be distracted by the environment. So besides, setting up, be sure that you do everything you can to come prepared. And what does that mean? That means that you have practice, practice, and practice. You know your content. And you know what, colleagues, part of what should make you also comfortable is you know your content better than anybody else. So be sure that you have practiced those so that you can go seamlessly from one slide to another. Set up your timing and your goals as you go forward so that you stay within your time frame, and that's part of being able to practice too. And if you need to have some help with pacing, the Association of Rehab Nurses, Sarah Hines, will help you with that. But do review your resources in advance and your instructions that will be provided, that will be sent to you. And if you do have questions, be sure to ask for help because we want you to know that you have full support. If possible, try doing a dress rehearsal in front of someone else. And I have done that. I've also presented and listened back to myself so that you can get some feedback on how you did if you need to have that kind of reassurance and guidance. But during your presentation, try setting a timer so that you know what you've been able to accomplish within that time frame and that you can get through all of your content within the time frame that's been allotted, or that you're not having to rush. I have a terrible habit of doing that. I have so much to say in my presentations that I really work hard to leave some time for questions at the very end. And if not, I end up covering it the next session that I'm doing. So I can always learn to do better myself there because, again, I always have so much to share. But, try this. This is all part of coming prepared. The next tip that I want to help talk with you about is your PowerPoint presentation. Your PowerPoint presentation truly is for you a tool. It should not be used as a crutch. For your audience, it is to point out the key facts that you want them to know, the key information that you really want them to be able to pay attention to on that one slide. So think about, as you prepare your slides, to cover one idea per slide. But be creative with the slide layout that you make and any kind of pictures and things, things that you can use as accents to enhance the content that you're presenting. So most of the information about your presentation should not be on your slides. Rather, it should be what you're presenting verbally to your audience. And that's part of what keeps them connected to you. Your presentation should exist in its entirety by what you say. But the key points should certainly be in your PowerPoint presentation. So if someone was to only look at your PowerPoint presentation, they would feel though something might be missing. So that's why you want to have the key points there and have what stands out is the content that you're actually presenting and the words that are going to enhance those key contents. Remember, you're the expert in the content that you're presenting, and that's why you don't want it to be a crutch, your PowerPoint presentation. Also, think about how you use your voice effectively and intentionally. Pay attention to the speed of how you're presenting, but don't be afraid to slow down. I have that problem of sometimes talking way too fast, and I will get that in my feedback and my evaluations. So that's helped me to learn that I need to slow down as well. But when you have so much to share and a fixed amount of time, I know the urgency to speed up and try and cover everything, but try to really pay attention to your speed and try and slow down. Take time to pause. Give people a chance to really take things in, and that sometimes will emphasize certain content. but don't mumble, pronounce your words clearly and be aware of your clarity of your voice. So that's another reason to practice. Even if it's part of your presentation, practice and have people and listen to yourself or have someone give you feedback, again, as one of the tips that we have strategized for you, suggested. Changing your pitch can make a difference, and the tone of your voice can create such a dynamic and engaging presentation. I do that a lot when I ask my audience questions, when I'll ask, for example, how many of you are using floor mats in your organization to reduce injuries in people when patients fall from your care? And when I find that many hands don't rise when I ask that question, I will often pause and say, and in a very, very deliberative voice, say, that is an opportunity for you to improve your practice. And that's how you can really emphasize key important points, by really looking at your intentionality. And then I will say that you have to have floor mats at the bedside. You can't allow someone to fall from your bed in your care and not have them fall onto a floor mat. So that's an example of being able to use your voice with intentionality and effectively, and have people truly listen to you. And eye your audience, especially in person. You can keep the eyes on people, have them attend to you as your voice does indeed change in its inflection. Another important tip, not a trick, is how you dress. How you dress does matter. In the virtual sessions, you really need to be careful not to wear stripes or overly bold patterns, because that will actually create some very odd looks on the camera, especially when you have the backgrounds, like I have the ARN background behind on this slide here on my view, is that, it kind of gets lost in the technology. So try and match your appearance to the impression that you want to project about yourself. Be careful not to wear too much jewelry, or jewelry that actually makes noises, like bracelets and necklaces that might make noises, because again, what you don't want to do, colleagues, is to have your presentation, not your presentation, but your appearance distract from the content that you're presenting. So, think about your jewelry and wear something that you feel comfortable in and confident in. For myself, I love to wear my professional pins. I will always in ARN wear my ARN pin. That's something that I'm very proud of, so that when I present and I'm sharing information that I think is so important for people to learn, I want them to know my sense of pride of being able to come forward, and in that case, represent not just myself, but also the Association of Rehabilitation Nurses. So think about your appearance and present as though you really have you're so important in terms of the content that you're presenting, and that it really comes forward as being authentic and an expert in the content that you're sharing. So how you dress does matter. Now, another opportunity is to look at your nonverbal communication. For your presentations, even the virtual presentations, when you're presenting, you can stand up. You can raise your computer up enough that you stand up. And then, if possible, that will help you with your body posture. You want to be aware of your body posture, not slouching, not leaning into the camera, but sitting straight up. And I was recently, in a production of some videos, and the person who was leading the production actually had me sit in a chair, not with my back against the chair, but to sit forward and have my shoulders back, which was something I learned. So that's a trick, is to really, like, as if you're playing the piano, be aware of your body posture, be aware of your body language, add your facial expressions. But don't be afraid to use hand gestures, but just don't go overboard. And we see presenters who do that. So you think about what looks good on camera, think about what looks good in the audience, but be comfortable. But do have eye contact. And if you do have nervous tendencies, don't apologize for it. Just be aware of it. You don't have to apologize for anything. You've been selected to present. You have the content that's been peer reviewed, and your information is so important to help increase knowledge, skills, and competencies of anyone who's listening to you. But when in doubt, smile. Go ahead and smile. Smile changes everything. It absolutely does. So colleagues, stay focused on your content, stay focused on your key message, or the 3 points of your key message that you always want the audience to take away. Know what they are and remind people of what they are. Make sure everything ties back to your key message and your points. Otherwise, you take the risk of becoming, not understood clearly for what is so important that you're trying to get across. And that's why sometimes having detailed speaker notes positioned where you can see them is really important. One of the tricks that I have done when I've been presenting, and I have a lot of content to present, is I will take Post-it notes and I will cut them up and I will put the key themes and I will stick it around my computer with doing all of these virtual lectures that I do. And that makes it really easy for me to be able to flow with the content and not have to manage notes in front of me in my hands, and that creates some noise and some distractions. So find different ways that, in this computer world and the virtual world, to be able to use speaker notes that you can use in creative ways. And I learned that from another colleague. It's not something I created myself. We all learn from others. So have those notes that you can, and again, not the detailed notes, but highlight them so that you really emphasize those key themes. And then summarize sections and points as you go to ensure that everybody is following you. This is very helpful to know that your audience knows that when you're going from one theme to another and you're changing content. And use short sentences when speaking so you don't lose your audience. But all of these strategies, colleagues, are to help you really engage your audience. You want to be able to engage your audience. When you're using your slides or your documents, refer to the slides or the page number so that they can stay with you. Utilize polling, live pollings. If you're setting up pollings, make sure you let Sarah know that, because she can help you with setting up those pollings. And then you allow time for them, because you have to allow time for people to enter in their information and then to, go ahead and get the results of those polls so that you can communicate them as part of your presentation. I also like to leverage the chat, as much as I can. If I'm, really caught up in my content and presenting, I will ask whoever's my moderator to keep on top of what's going on in the chat and not be afraid to, interrupt me and let me know if there's a question that has just emerged that I really should answer, but to help me with that. But do leverage the chat. And that's for both live as well as virtual content. Let people be able to interact with you as you're presenting. Don't wait always to the end, because that keeps your audience with you. And if applicable, and this can happen in both live as well as virtual, encourage some movement. I have people stand up, I have people clap, thumbs up, anything that you can do, even with the virtual presentations. But encourage movement. That keeps people with you. And then end your discussion and questions and takeaways with as you finish, to make sure that you can have time for discussions, but always emphasizing what it is that you really wanted everyone to really take away from this presentation. And then go ahead and if you've been able to discover other content that's really important, what emerged from having your conversations or your chats or your polling information, is to include that in your takeaways. And that really helps all of the audience know that you've listened and everybody appreciates that their input has been important in the presentation that you've presented. But try and leave time for questions and answers. So if you do get sometimes a little nervous about presenting, and as I talk about helping you to relax, there are a lot of people who are returning to presenting. People in the time of COVID have been presenting virtually. They've not been presenting in person. And now that they're returning to being in person, they're getting somewhat, I've heard this, getting somewhat nervous. I recently presented at a conference that had over 700 people there. And I talked with some of the presenters that, they kind of felt like that. They talked about, they felt like they were, a little out of step. So try and relax with your presentation. Remember that you've been selected to present because you have submitted your abstract, your presentation. It's been reviewed, it's peer reviewed, and you were selected. So know that your presentation and what you have to share is so important. But it's okay to be nervous. Nervousness is part of anxiety, which helps us be alert. So it's okay. So you are the expert, know that, and use this time to share. Sometimes what can be very helpful if you are feeling nervous, even though you have some water that's there to help you, don't be afraid to pause and take a drink. But find someone in the audience that you talk to as if you're talking to just that one person. And, even though you're going to look out to the audience and talk to everyone else, but just focus on that one person. Like right now, I'm talking to you. You are the person who is so important in my world, and I am in your world to help you be the best presenter you can be in preparing to present for conference, in person, or virtual. So, relax about that. Know that your information is so important and your expertise is able to help share with other people who would need to learn, who want to learn from you. So slow down, take some deep breaths, don't rush. And if you mess up, don't worry about it. I apologize a lot of times when I have something not quite right on a slide, or I've gone ahead and I've misspoken about something because I maybe messed up on some statistic or some finding of a literature review that I'm presenting. But don't worry about it. You always just say, I apologize for this, and just keep on going. Everybody makes mistakes, but don't worry about that. But what I think is so important is be you. You are passionate, you're a rehabilitation nurse. Your information is so important to us. Show your enthusiasm, just like me. I love to present, whether it's virtual or in person. I love to be able to be with people and to learn with and to learn from those that I'm surrounded by. So enjoy, be yourself, be passionate, show your enthusiasm. Be honest, with your audience about, what you're presenting and how important it is to you, why it really matters, why the content that you're sharing can truly make a difference in their practice and for their patient care. Talk to the camera and the audience as if you're having a conversation with another person. So enjoy it, enjoy being able to share with people and to help influence their practice. So try to be yourself and create that connection with your audience, because the audience will come and talk to you after your presentation. Or if it's virtual, invite them to send you an email. I do that all the time. If I come and go in an hour presenting or a half hour like I am with you today, but I always invite people to contact me for anything I can do to help them. But be responsive. So if you're going to create that invitation, you have to be responsive. But make the connection with the audience because they want to connect with you. So create that invitation. So if you are comfortable and it does not distract from your message, use some humor if you can. I do that a lot too. So you can too, but be authentic about it, be honest about it, let it come from the experiences that you've had. But enjoy. That's truly not everybody who submits to present gets selected. So when you get selected, that is really, it's truly a privilege, and it truly is an honor. So, be proud of that and be who you are. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. If I can help you in any way, I'm always delighted to help you. I can't wait to see you, whether it's virtually or in person at conference in San Diego. The dates are the 19th through the 23rd. I believe the in-person conference is going to be the 22nd through the 23rd. But you'll be getting information from Sarah, from ARN online information that you'll be receiving. But I can't wait to see you. So colleagues, I hope that this has been helpful to you. Again, let me thank Sarah Hines for preparing this presentation for you, working with me to help me be able to present to you. And I have learned, as I hope you have learned, some tips and some tricks to be able to help you with your presentation, to be the best presentation always, each and every presentation to be the best it can be. So congratulations, and I look forward to being in the audience with you, but also presenting along with you. All my best to you.